Okay, here is a feature showcase for the newest update to Justus Lynetta. One of the things that we have is now custom hair lengths. So, you can focus on longer bangs, a longer ponytail, shorter bangs, and a shorter ponytail specifically, which it's a little bit hard to see from where we're at, but there are also in-between options right here. So in between these two is a short side hair. So if you don't want these short bangs entirely, you can adjust that. So if you go up and down here, you can instead just change the side hair if you want to keep your bangs the same. Or you can just focus on having them both, or a little bit of a mixture. So you can interpolate between the different options that you have. Alongside this, you can also change the hue. So if you want something a little bit more custom, you can work it out like this. See what you get. That will be trying for my default, but there we go. Okay. Now here comes the combat stuff. So, the model is now updated for combat mechanics in desktop. I've revamped the combat menu that you can see here. I personally like to use the menu that is in the wings here for the expressions. That's the menu that I prefer. But I will use this menu since people are more used to this. Okay. So this is the normal combat menu, where you can either have your sword contacts, reaper contacts, and then you can play with the sword and mess with that. I added some debugs in the case that you can't put them away or can't grab them properly so that you can just have them in your hands. Health menu, and that has its own section. I have a full heal and an instant death, in case anybody needs that. Now I have an animation sub-menu. This is going to be what desktop players are going to really want to have up all the time. Number one, have your safeties disabled so that you can play around properly. And let's see, let's try an idle animation. So I know that there are a lot of people who play desktop, but are also in roleplays that may want to just have an idle animation that they can use in the background. So I've added some idle animations. One that you can be idle as you're talking, or at least looking like you're talking. And more of a smug idle in the background. I added a bunch of sits. And I reset because these two are on a different system about how they work. Added some social actions. A couple of dances. Walk forward pose. Kick forward pose. And a kick spin. As well as a spin heart. And as always, this is funny. That goes through that full animation. But here are the things that you might be more interested in. First, I'll check out the martial arts. So with this, I don't have a system to properly switch between these because there's a lot of interpolation going on between them and it will get a little bit complicated, so I would rather not worry too much about that. But you can kind of look like you're ready to do some martial arts, but you can't just click on this, otherwise it's not going to work. You'll have to click twice. I have a low punch. Let me back up. I have a punch where you just kind of slug forward. I got a running kick. I got a punch on a downed person. And a kick on a downed person. And when a player is grappling you, grapple back with a headbutt. Now keep in mind, with my mechanics, every single one of these This involves fists. This involves feet. This involves the head. Those will all activate the damage. So they will be able to hurt other players. Next thing, you probably really want to be able to use the sword. So first, desktop players, you're going to want to use the sword grab. You can also have a stance for the sword if you want to. And you have 3 options of attack. A blade slash, blade flip slash, all cool, and a charge forward slash. But you might know that my model has animations that you can do. So you need to first prep the attack so that it can be ready to reset. This is what you're going to be using to do the actual attacks. So for example, just the normal blade slash, I'm going to click on this, and click again. Okay, blade flip, I'm going to wait, and click. Okay, and then charge forward, click. So it's kind of up to you to determine when you want this animation effect to go off. The prep attack will automatically reset you so that you don't have to go through the same thing that the desktop or the PC players will have to.
I can no longer swing again even though I am at angle activate. I have to return to angle 0 to activate.
Now you'll also be in charge of having to reset your animation back. Okay, and gun has something similar. However, it is a little bit more specific. You will not have these 2 options. My setup for this is getting a little bit too complicated to make these work very nicely. You will just have the option to fire. So, use the gun debug so that you can hold the gun. Gonna get a stance. It's gonna look cool. Can aim it in this kind of not so great stance because it doesn't really hold it out straight. So always keep that in mind. And then you can just fire the particle as you need. There's also a second stance that uses 2 hands that aims it more coherently. Fire the particle as you need. This will be a button next. You can open the cylinder to check it, but unfortunately these 2 do not work out well enough right now until I clean up my systems. Okay, and here's my favorite thing. I built in a bunch of animations for when you get defeated. That one's your pummeled. This one you get lifted up and thrown backwards. This one you get lifted up and then thrown forwards. This one you slowly collapse from death. This one is like you just got comboed. This one you actually get tripped. And you might notice that I have these 2 buttons also added here. Watch this effect. Okay, what about this one? So you can determine whether you want this to be like a full death or just a defeat by deciding whether you die. So you get to have fun with the health system and kind of determining when you need to dissolve. This one, I know there is a final punch. Bam! And keep in mind, the network sync is going to make it so that your death is a little bit delayed compared to the players across the network, so you want to keep that in mind. But with this, you're able to fire the gun, you're able to use the sword slashes, you got a bunch of animations to just kind of mess around with. You have plenty of ways to interact with the model, and you get the PvP system with it. There you go.